So our first batch of cookies is out. They are amazing. This is the applesauce, and I put pecans on the top. Oh my, here, have a bite. So good. Today we're going to cook real food. So we're in day 37 and it is time to really get down to teaching how to use real food. And I have found that if I have real food in the house, I can cook anything. If I don't, and I have some old packages, I don't know how to cook them at all. So today this is what we're doing. We're making 3 roasted chickens with potatoes and carrots from our freezer, from our harvest last year. I have onions and thyme and celery. And we're going to do 2 of these. We're going to cook all of them in here. 2 of them are going to be shredded and used for chicken enchiladas and chicken casseroles and things like that, put in the freezer. The other one is going to be smothered in the vegetables to have as our dinner tonight. We also are going to show you how to prepare this beautiful squash that I got from the winter farmers market. I have never used this kind, so we'll learn together. But part of this I'm putting in with the chicken too, so that it can simmer in there, and part of it I'm putting in the oven. So we're doing that. I also am going to be showing you how to make my wonderful oatmeal cookies with very little sugar and lots of good nutritious things in them. And last but not least, I'm going to be showing you how to make homemade applesauce with some of my apples that I put in the freezer from last fall that I didn't make into applesauce and didn't make into pie filling. They're just plain apples, and we're going to take those and make applesauce. So here we go. I've got my sleeves rolled up, my apron on, and we're ready to go. The very first thing we're going to do is take our chickens that we processed last December 3rd, by the way. Don't really recommend doing it in December because it's cold then. In fact, that's why some of them are so small, because we did not want to wait another week or two when it was snowing to do them. So I'm going to open these up and clean them out, and there's nothing in them. I've taken all the liver and put those into another container so that we can have chicken liver and onions at another time, and just going to clean them up. So all I'm doing is opening the plastic, rinsing them with water, and bringing them back over. All right, we have 3 chickens that I've put into the roaster. They've been washed. That's all that's happened to them. I have 4 potatoes, and I'd like to show you what not to do with your potatoes. These are not potatoes that we grew, but I want you to look really closely, and you can see all of the marks that are on here. You can actually see shovel marks and things where they weren't careful when they harvested them. I'm sure these were commercially harvested. And so when we do our potatoes, we're extremely careful that we don't stick the tool into it to make all the marks on it. So just be careful when you're growing your potatoes that you do them better than they did them. And this year, we did grow a lot of potatoes last year, but we're going to grow a lot more this year so that we don't have to purchase store-bought potatoes. But that's just a little tidbit right there. So I'm just going to rough cut these potatoes. Everything is going to be rough cut, and we're going to choose this chicken over here that we're going to put our this is going to be our roasted one. So what I'm going to do is actually set it in one of these little steamers, and it's going to go in the corner here. And then I'm going to put the potatoes and everything around it. And then these 2 will just cook normal, and we'll go for our our shredded chicken to use in many, many different recipes. And I'm going to let the potatoes go down on the bottom because then they'll get into the good juices. And it doesn't matter if they cook all day, they will be just fine. It works very well that way. The one thing I don't have today that I always have is garlic. And so I'm going to use garlic powder, but I'm out of garlic, and you should never be out of garlic in your kitchen. So these are celery. I'm just going to rough cut these celery and put them in because I want to be able to get the flavor in them with that. And then I'm going to take my 2 onions. I am taking the outside off, but just barely because there's a lot of nutrients right at the skin level. So just peel it off perfectly. Wow, that one came off great. And if you can get it to peel like that, looks like we're going to get 2 in a row. All right. So I want to tell you about something crazy that's happening today. I'm going to move the camera up just a little. So as you know, if you follow the news at all, there's a lot of unrest in the world. And I told you a couple of days ago that I'm going over to China with my son, and that he had 3 of his children over there earlier to go to Korea and Japan before I get there. What I didn't tell you is where he and his children are off to today for about 2.5 days, which has their mother very nervous. They are actually going into North Korea with a very large group from America, about 150 people. And let me put these in. So what I'm going to do is take these onions and fill the cavities of the chickens, and then put the rest around all of them. So the reason that they're going in there, because my son likes to do wild things, but he's very cautious, very aware that what he's doing today is, you know, when they planned this a long time ago, they didn't know that all this stuff was going to be going on in North Korea. Anyway, they're running a marathon together. He's a marathon runner, but the kids and him are going to do a half marathon together because he doesn't want to leave the children, so he's staying exactly where they are. And that, I believe, is in 2 days. And they have done this for several years. Not my children, but this group that goes in. It's very protected. They go into a very protected place. Why? That would be the question of the mother. So I'm very anxious for Sunday morning, our time, when he gives me a call and can communicate to me again. I just got a text saying, leaving Shanghai, China for North Korea. So I'll keep you up to date. So then I have these carrots. And these carrots were blanched and frozen last August. I'm not going to worry about them at all getting thawed, because they will get thawed plenty in here. So I'm just going to throw them in. As they start to thaw, I'll move them around a little bit. Now I'm going to salt liberally. I'm going to put pepper on them. I'm going to put an all-purpose organic dressing that just has a lot of different herbs on them. And last but not least, I'm going to put garlic powder, especially because I don't have, oops, come on, there we go, because I don't have garlics. And I've never cooked a chicken without garlic, so I'm pretty committed to garlics with my chicken. So now that is the beautiful, beautiful chickens, and I'm going to actually bring the camera over and let you see them very close. All right. So this roaster pan, you can get them. I got mine for like $30, $39, whatever. Walmart has them. A lot of different stores have them. Most people have one in their family for Thanksgiving. That's when we bought it. It's just such a nice extra oven to have. And it works so well. And you can put it anywhere. You can put it on your counter. You can put it on a shelf while it cooks. And it's wonderful. And you heat it up just like you would an oven. And I'm going to put it on 300 and put the lid on it. And let it start cooking. I'm not putting any broth on my chicken yet. I'm going to see if it makes some, and if it doesn't, then I'll add a little broth to it. So let's tackle this squash, and I don't even know what it's called. So I can't even help you out there. And let's see if we can do this. Cutting this pumpkins and the squash are my hardest thing to do. And so I have to be very careful that I don't get hurt. Hey, I'm almost done with it. Look at that. Okay. Just got to get through here. I'm sure you're looking at it going, oh, she's going to get hurt. Okay. Going to take this top off because it's probably keeping me from being able to cut all the way through. There we go. Voila. So you can see it looks like a pumpkin inside, and I will take these seeds and keep some of them because I'll take these seeds and keep some of them. Maybe we'll grow some, and my chickens will love the rest of them. So what I'm going to do is just cut this into some smaller slices. Like this. Oh, perfect. Serving sizes. And I'm going to throw some right in with my squash. I'm going to throw the squash right in with my chicken. How pretty is that? And one last one. So half of my squash is in with the chicken. And let me go ahead and salt that. And then half of my squash is going to get baked in the oven upside down in this. Just like you would if you were making a pumpkin for your pumpkin pie. And I bet you this would make a good pumpkin pie too. But we're not gonna add sugar to this. We're just gonna eat this healthy and wonderful. And clean it all out here. And then one last cut here. And I'm just going to put a little drizzle of olive oil on the bottom here of my pan. And a little bit of olive oil on this so that it doesn't burn. And there we go. And I'm going to stick it in the oven. I'm going to stick it at 350 and just cook it that way. And we'll see how long it takes. I will let you know on the other side. So now we're going to make applesauce. I have apples here that were frozen. And if you can see, they're cut into rings because that's the way our peeler does it. It peels them and puts them into rings. So I'm just going to take these apples, which have been frozen, and I'm just going to cut them into a little bit smaller pieces. Just like in quarters of what they were. And throw them in the pan. recipe calls for 3 pounds. I'm not sure how many pounds I have here. It's quite a few. And I froze them with cinnamon on them. So they do have cinnamon added to them already. I'll probably add a little bit more. So the recipe calls for 3 pounds of apples and 1 teaspoon of cinnamon and a pinch of nutmeg, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and some lemon slices. I don't have lemon slices today, so I'm just going to use, actually I'm going to use some lime juice. I think that will make it very interesting. In here. All right, so I'm just going to add a little bit more cinnamon to it. It's not a science. Some nutmeg, a little bit of salt, a few squirts of lime, and the recipe calls for 1.5 cups of water. My apples are a little bit moist already because they've been frozen, so I'm probably only going to put in a little less than 1 cup. And I'm going to put it on the stove so that it can start cooking down. While it's cooking, we're going to start our cookies. So this is what it looks like in the pan as I'm starting. And then I'll just stir it a little bit. And it definitely is a chunky applesauce. That's the way we love it. And we'll see what it turns into. Well, it has been a half an hour, and I am going to let this continue to simmer. I actually put like a potato masher in it and mashed up these a little bit more, and you can see that it almost has all of the juices gone, and I'm just going to let it simmer a little bit longer. There's no problem in doing that, and we'll make cookies. All right, cookie time. So with real food, you are not going to give up everything you like. You're just going to change the way you make it. So I've taken the Quaker oatmeal cookie recipe and made it into a way different recipe. So first of all, it calls for a cube of butter, 1/2 cup of butter, plus 6 tablespoons. So we definitely are using that. And this is where some of the changes come in. It wants 3/4 cup of brown sugar and 1/2 cup of white granulated sugar. I use 1/3 cup of coconut sugar. That's all I use. Someday I'll have another KitchenAid. 2 eggs, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and can beat that all together. And 1 1/4 cups of flour, of whole wheat flour, and 1/4 cup of almond meal. 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And I use a sea salt natural. All right, now we're adding 3 cups of oatmeal. And I'm gonna need a bigger bowl, but we're gonna try it in this anyway. I need to get a deeper bowl. And this is where the changes come in. I'll blend this in and then I'll tell you. So the recipe calls for 1 cup of raisins. I'm putting a heaping 1/3 cup of raisins, about 1/4 cup of chopped dates, a heaping cup of chocolate chips, a cup of unsweetened finely shredded coconut, and 1/2 cup of chopped pecans. Nom! Okay, so I've washed my hands really good, and I'm just going to get in here and use my hands. Get them all done. Now, this is almost like a granola bar. I have another recipe for granola bars, but this has so many good things in it. The chocolate chips are not just plain chocolate chips. I use Ghirardelli 60% cacao. If you can find them for deeper chocolate, then use those. The darker chocolate you have, the better for you. And I didn't put a whole bunch of any one thing in. Dates are very high in sugar, so I didn't use very many dates. And raisins are high in sugar, so you want to, don't worry that you didn't use much sugar in it, because you're using it other things that have sugar. And there is our beautiful bowl. The most amazing thing, look at that. See the steam coming off of it? That is our applesauce, chunky applesauce. I wish you could taste it. It's got a little bit of tart, a tiny bit of sweet, and the cinnamon flavor with the nutmeg. It is so, so good. It did end up cooking for 45 minutes. Cooked all the water off. Delicious. So our first batch of cookies is out. They are amazing. This is the applesauce, and I put pecans on the top. Oh my, here, have a bite. So good. This is our squash that is out of the oven, and it's flaking off here. So this will just go get ready, and it can be put onto a plate with butter and salt and cinnamon and served as a vegetable. That's all there is to it. Cut, put in the oven, eat. Real food. That's real food. 2 of the chickens are deboned and in containers ready to go in the freezer, and the other chicken is ready for dinner. See the beautiful squash, the potatoes around it, the carrots on top with the onions mixed in, and this is just as flaky as it can be. Numb. So after a morning of cooking, I'm going to take some real food that I'm planted and find a place in the garden for my squash so that I can have my own squash this year instead of having to go purchase it. I hope that I've inspired you a little bit to be able to stay away from fast food places and realize that if you just pick up something that's real and cook it, it has the most amazing flavor and the nutrients that your body needs and craves. Have a beautiful day.